Welcome to Colonie TV, the governmental educational channel for the town of Colonie.
Welcome to Real Conversations with Lisa and Susan. I'm Susan.
And I'm Lisa. Welcome.
Today we're going to be talking about women and the automotive industry. Kind of women in the automotive industry, but also women and the automotive industry, because both of them are fascinating, right?
That's right. And it's really easy to blend them because we have some wonderful guests who are going to talk about what it's like being in a pretty male-dominated field.
Yeah.
And then we're going to also be talking about why is it important for women in particular to know about their cars and what they need to know.
And what do they need to do to know, maybe some trends in the auto industry, because we like to touch on economic development, and the auto industry is a leading indicator of how the economy is going.
And you made a really good point when we were talking about this show off camera, which is, for most people, it's about it's a big investment, right? It is. It's your house, your car. Those are your
That's
big
basically it.
Your big
Yeah,
investments
for most people.
And,
absolutely.
And a lot of times we just take for granted what's going on, and until it breaks or until, something happens, a light comes on, we're like, oh my God,
And I don't know if you we talk a lot in the show about going green and living frugal, okay? So there's a couple of things, like I recently leased a new vehicle. I had held on to my old vehicle for 9 years. I'm a person who holds on to their old vehicles because I ascribe to the frugal living, and also I do think of it as going green because it is green when you're buying less.
Yes,
that
simple.
is easier on the environment. But I recently leased a hybrid.
Oh, good
and
for you.
I'm getting 50 miles to the gallon and
Wow.
loving it.
Good for
Absolutely
you.
loving it. So I have a lot more time on my hands because I'm not going to the gas station as much.
That's great. Well, we're going to be talking about all these topics, and we look forward to exploring them more with our guests. We'll be back in just a moment. Welcome back to Real Conversations with Lisa and Susan. We are so excited today. We have a wonderful show for you talking about women and the auto industry, as well as women in the auto industry. And we have two terrific guests. First, we have with us Sandra Hameroff, who is the owner of the Broadway Auto Clinic in Albany. And then we also have with us Dawn Morrison, who is has a really interesting business called The Karma LLC, and she'll tell us about that in a moment. So we have two women who are in the automotive industry, which is a rarity. It's a very male-dominated industry.
It's unusual.
Yeah. Let's just start with you, Dawn, if you don't mind. Tell us a little bit about how you got started and a little bit about your business so our viewers understand what The Karma LLC is.
Sure. Yeah, it's the Karma LLC. We take care of your car. So the way this all started was it came from a lifelong love, passion of cars. We didn't have much money growing up, so we always had clunkers. So I became very adept at determining just by the sound of what was going on with the car, what was wrong with it. So
That's why I call you a car whisperer. Right?
That's
She's like, getting the vibes of the car.
That's great.
Yeah,
Did you have formal training in this arena, or just being around it?
Just being around.
and practicing it?
Seriously, when I say clunkers, we had clunkers. It was always something going wrong. So
Right.
always in the shop, and I was fortunate that my very first car, my mechanic taught me everything.
Wow.
Yeah, he taught me how to change my own oil, how to change an alternator, how to change a battery, how to do body work. Granted, it wasn't pretty, but
Little Bondo goes a long way.
exactly. That 72 Duster was held together by
Oh my
Bondo. But
That's
so
great.
yeah, it would just I've always had an affinity for them and an appreciation of them. So back in '05, I started it as a hobby, just taking care of my friends' cars, and they kept saying to me, just go for it, Donnie. Make a business out of it. You're good at it. You love it. So in 2009, I formed the LLC, and so now my specialty is actually driving people's cars in for the service, which is it's a key distinction here because a lot of people just don't have time to drive it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So you like take them to work and then drive their car, and that's a wonderful service. And you also help them find what kind of service they need.
Yep.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's great.
I'll
Cool.
even help them sell their car. I'll negotiate deals for new car. So when I say
Wow.
go-to resource, I mean it.
Oh, wow. Well,
For
that's
everything
exciting.
car.
Everything car. Yep.
That's excellent. And how about for, you, Sandra? Tell us how you got into this business, and you're the owner of Broadway Auto Clinic.
Yep. It was a little over 17 years ago, and I had.
When you were 9, you started?
I was 9. I was 9, and one day I was just driving through our town on my way to work, and I said, "You know, hon, why don't you go see if you can get a job there?" And he did the ultimate thing. Listen to me. So he came home about a month later and said, "You know what? We can do this." So I got out, wrote a business plan, and thought about it, did a lot of research. We went and we found a location. We were originally in downtown Albany. We were there for 12 years. And then about 5 years ago, we took the big leap of faith, and we went from a 1,200 square foot facility to a 12,000.
That is
Wow.
Yeah.
It's wonderful.
Be careful what you wish for. It's a lot of work. We added 2 car washes. We added a dog wash. We added a quick lube. I have a lot of my mechanics that originally started with us. We have a full staff that, you know, you can find me there at 7 a.m. every morning, getting ready for the day, getting everybody organized. We have a shuttle that we take our customers back into downtown, up to Riverview. You'll see me picking them up every once in a while because it's good to stay connected with your customers. You know,
Sure.
among all the things of, you know, researching parts, you know, finding the right thing for the customer, knowing your customer. You know, what is affordable? Do they have a great, you know, Volkswagen that they want to do some Bilstein shocks on, which are a higher end shock, versus a car we had today that had 140,000 miles on it, that, you know, we just needed to get some struts in the front of it, suspension parts, and get them on the road for, you know, a lot less money than the person that owned the Volkswagen that
Sure.
wanted to do some really good high-end stuff.
Well, let's start talking, I think, about...
I'm just so impressed with this. I'm in awe of these women.
They could be
I'm in awe.
speaking Greek, and we'd be like, wow.
For somebody
it's
who
not
like all their
Greek.
life grew up looking at a book and learning from a book, I mean, I'm just in awe of women who take this on.
Yeah, I do.
Really am.
And, you know, talk a little bit about, like, your experience being in a minority in this field. Can you say what it's
Absolutely,
like?
yeah. It's I actually catch a lot of guys off guard because I am an advocate for my clients. If I'm at the dealer or any repair shop, I'll actually start talking shop with these guys, and it's funny because you can see the wheels turn, and they look at my name tag, and they look at me, and they look, and then they relax.
Right.
And but it does. It takes them a second to get used to just a girl. You know, I mean, I'll even get dirty. I'll get on the ground and I'll start banging stuff, and they just kind of look at me. Wow.
A woman who can really talk about
Yeah.
the
Who
vehicle.
understands how it works,
Understand
not
it,
just,
yeah.
I need an oil
And
change.
who can challenge them.
Right.
Because me, I'm like, yeah, whatever, you know, just make it run and clean it when you're done.
But it's not whatever.
I feel like such a girl with that. But, I mean, it's
I
not,
get people
right?
that will come in and say, I'll be sitting in the front desk, is the owner here? You know, is your manager here? Yes. Is the manager here? You're looking at the owner, and then they'll take a step back. I'll let them take their foot out of their mouth, and then I'll talk to them. Because they're not expecting a 5-foot-tall woman to be
Right.
sitting there, you know, running the place. And then, like Dawn said, when you start talking to them and, you know, explaining things to them and talking about their cars, then they understand. They're like, okay, you know, she does know what she's talking about. We'll bring them out to the cars sometime. And, you know, we'll point things out to them that they understand. You know, the thing about cars is everybody thinks it's like this, ooh, I don't understand, I have to listen to what they're telling me. No, it's really not. It's being able to visualize. And most things you can see what's wrong with the car. You know, most things are visual unless it's electronic, and then you're talking about a check engine light. But a lot of things are visual, and it's not so hard for people to understand the car. Your car is like your body. You take care of your body just like you take care of your car.
But a lot of mechanics aren't willing or able to really explain that. My car, I was telling you before we started shooting, I had a 9-year-old car that I recently got rid of. And not that long ago, I was having a problem with it, either an odor or a noise or something. Took it to a shop, a very, reputable shop, and they said, oh, this is wrong with it, and it's going to cost you $350. Well, I believed them. I didn't question them. They were a reputable shop. And they didn't explain it any further than just to say, this is wrong with it, and it costs this much. And I didn't press them on it, and that was because I don't know that much about it.
When you're talking
and I
in an
didn't have
area
someone
that's
like
foreign.
Dawn, right? But they weren't willing to go the extra step and really explain it to me. They just wanted me to cut that check.
Women like to talk. Women are from Venus, men are from Mars.
Yes.
Men know how to fix things. Women know how to explain why. I feel a vibration when I'm stepping on my brake. Okay, but is the vibration in the seat or is it in the pedal? And that's an indication. If you're vibrating in your steering wheel, you're going to know that your front brakes are warped. If it's more in your butt, it's the back brakes. So you think of your butt.
This is one of the things that I really admire about Sandra is that not only is she incredibly knowledgeable, but she cares. It's really tough to find people in the industry that really care. I mean, literally, I think you were saying something to the effect of you take their cars very seriously.
Yes.
Your life is their life is in your hands.
We're carologists.
Yeah, I love that.
Well, if you think about it,
Carologist?
carologist.
Okay.
We're the doctors of cars. If you think about it, you're going to put your life in my hands 3 to 4 times a year, especially if you drive a lot. I'm the one that's taking the tires off your car. Not only are you putting your life, but your family's life in my hands. I have to make sure those lug nuts are on tight. I have to make sure that I have enough faith in my technicians that your front end components are going to be tightened down. Because God forbid you're on the highway, you lose a wheel, you can lose a family. And I take that to heart every day.
That's great. Now, what, if anything, are you seeing in terms of, because you've been in for 17 years, you grew up in the world of cars and all that. Are there more women involved now, or is there support for women to get involved? I mean, are there in the
Are they is the industry welcoming to women professionals? Or to what extent, or has it at least increased?
I would say it's increased.
Okay.
I would say it's definitely increased. Well, women nowadays, I mean, we have the knowledge. I mean, think about 30 years ago, how many women were college graduates, or 40 years ago, how many women are in the workforce now? We're getting into everything, whether they like it or not. There's much more women car salesmen, because women have a comfort level. It's not, you need this. No offense to the guys, but women have a comfort level with one another. And that's really important. Whether you're a man in the industry or you're a woman, is talking to women. More than half my clients are women. Because
well, I would
they're the ones
imagine
that are going
that they
to work.
would seek you out.
Exactly. Not just seek me out, but they're the ones that are dropping their car off on the way to work and coming and picking up and they're the ones making the money. You have a lot of single mothers.
That's true.
And they're the ones that are getting their car fixed, and
And they have to keep those cars going because
They have
they're
to.
dropping the kids off here, and they're going to work, and they're picking the kids off, and they're running to the doctors, and
you have to make sure that your car is, if you look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, okay, going back to that, in order to have your food and your shelter and your safety, you have to have employment. Live in the capital region means you need a car. So actually in the hierarchy of needs, the car is really one of the most important things.
Yes.
That you...
Shelter and car. That's
yes.
right.
I haven't heard anyone else talk about Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
I always
It was one of
do.
my favorite things in business school. Anyway.
Well, the other question I have is, there's a lot of we've done shows on this too, where like in this STEM, right, the science, technology,
Yeah.
engineering,
And math.
There's a lot of focus on helping women to young girls starting earlier
Yeah.
to get them interested. Do you know of anything like in the BOCES programs or in other sort of technical, that there's any
Vo-tech training
Yes.
for young women in the
Actually,
area.
one of my ex-employees was a woman, and I did get her from Hudson Valley. And as life would have it, she wound up marrying my senior tech.
Oh,
She doesn't
wow.
work for me anymore, but she did for a while, and she was actually a pretty good tech. I got her from the Hudson Valley program, and she worked for me for a little while, and then she went on to other things,
This
and
is
she
gonna-
married my head
This
tech.
is going to sound terrible, but I guess if you want to meet a man, you can go into a male. Doesn't it sound terrible? But it's true.
Yes, it sounds terrible.
Go into a male-dominated industry.
But I
Plenty
guess
of pickings.
But do you want them? That's the question. I guess for me, and other women that I've networked with, and I'm a consultant, and business consultants for a long time was a real male-dominated field, and a lot of women are working in that field to mentor young women. Do you find that also as an opportunity for you to mentor? Like you said, you hired someone from Hudson Valley. Do you look to mentor other women?
Yeah, I totally do, because I totally believe in girl power, and I support women in business. Any opportunity that I could take on a girl and teach her what I know, all about it. And and I think also a side note on an advantage that women have in doing what we do is because we think differently. It's absolutely hands down. We have a different way of looking at things, and it's more wholesome. So I think in terms of looking at a car and dealing with a car, we look at it as a system. Everything relates to everything.
Right.
So, and I think in general, women have a greater capacity to think that way, and so therefore it will transmit in how we deal with the car.
Yeah.
You know.
So it's not just go and fix this one problem, but you see that problem is relating to other
Everything.
problems.
Yeah, exactly.
That's interesting. That's
Yeah.
really interesting.
So,
And so what kinds of things do you think women or people in general need to know about their car?
Well, I mean, everybody talks about basic maintenance, making sure your tire has the right amount of pressure. How many times I get a car in that has 30 pounds more? You don't blow it up until it looks round. People don't know. You open the door
Yeah.
to your car, the driver's side, and right in there will show you how many pounds each tire should be.
PSI. I know
PSI,
that.
yep.
Is
Pounds
that
per
what it
square
is?
inch.
PSI? Okay.
Yeah, and
per square
that was
inch.
going to be my first question. I don't even know. Every time
Open
I have
your
to
car
go and
door.
put the
It's right there.
air in, I'm
Out of
like,
the panel.
okay, how do I know how much?
Yep.
So you open the door and it's on the panel.
There's a metal
next
thing.
to PSI.
Yes, it'll tell you.
And most cars, the newer cars nowadays have a tire pressure monitoring system in it. So if you should lose a few pounds in a tire, your tire pressure light will come on, which is a good thing. So God forbid you get a nail in your tire, you'll know that there's a problem with the car. Usually with the change of seasons, when you go from hot to cold, cold to hot, when you get the extreme temperature, your tire pressures may change a little bit and it may set the light off, and people get nervous and nope, it's only off a pound or two, and then fill it up, send them on their way.
Right.
And not only is it safer, but it also helps you with gas mileage, isn't that right?
Exactly. And also for proper tire wear too.
What about tire rotation?
Usually I say every other oil change, especially cars nowadays are front wheel drive. If you don't rotate them, you're going to find that you're going to be wearing the front tires out a lot quicker than the rear. So it's always good to rotate them so they wear evenly. So when you go to replace them, although, I'm going to do 4 at one time, it's always a good idea. Another thing is that people don't realize is if you have an all-wheel drive car, it's a good idea to always rotate them, make sure they wear evenly, because you usually should have the same type of tire on all 4. Any tire, an XLV
The same
edition.
brand
Yes,
type.
exactly. And it's always good, especially with an all-wheel drive car, not to buy a closeout tire in case you have to replace that one tire. God forbid it should blow.
Right. Now, what about like alignments and things like that? Is that regular maintenance, or is that only if you're having a problem?
Yeah, how do you know you need one?
Usually every year or so to have it checked. Being in the capital region, we have a lot of potholes. And you can smash a good pothole. Sometimes you'll know because you bent your rim and your car will start to vibrate a little
Or
bit.
it'll pull, right?
Yes,
Pull
and it can also pull. Yep. So it's a good idea to have it checked at least once a year, usually before your summer driving or before you put the snow tires on. If you do a lot of driving in a city area, then I usually recommend twice a year just to make sure to check it.
Let me ask you, Dawn, if you say you advocate for your clients, so if you're bringing a car in, or maybe for our viewers, what kinds of things, what kinds of questions should they ask for these, if they come back and say, X is wrong with your car? I mean, I know I'm asking a very general question.
How do you know when to believe them?
And when to question.
Yeah.
Right.
Or should you always question?
I think you should always question, no matter what. I mean, there's no harm in asking a question, and it also actually activates them to explain, to give more information, give more data on why they're even suggesting these things. I think it's always important to have them explain line by line by line. This is one of the things that I do. I have them tell me, okay, well, what's this? What's this? What's this? Okay, what priority? I mean, are we having to address all these issues right now?
Right.
Because the shop, of course, they'd love to have all that
That's
at
right.
once, but
Mortgages due on the shop, right?
That's right.
I mean, so we have, that's part of the advocating for the client, is to figure out a timeline here. Okay, all right, well, A, B, and C in XYZ time. So yeah, you just absolutely opening up the door for conversation. And of course, how you do it is key too. No need to be nasty about it, but just asking. And
What about when you go to buy a car? And I know that sometimes people will retain your services to purchase a car because a lot of people don't have the time. They're worried
the
they
stomach
don't
for the
they don't-
negotiation.
they don't
A new car or a used car?
That's a good point. New
Yeah.
or used.
yeah, it's
Tell them the used one real quick.
which one was this?
The used one when you went to Connecticut?
Oh yeah, this particular dealer, in my opinion, they won the Idiot of the Year award. I mean, I called ahead of time, 2.5 hours, 2.5 hour drive. I called ahead. I said, "Is the car still available?" "Oh yes, call me in your half hour out, and so I can be with you." Well, I get there. Bottom line is, he can't be with me. He sends me down to the lot to look at the car. I get to the car. It's filthy and has a flat tire. Not a good sign.
No, not a
No.
good sign.
So.
Was that new or used?
It was used, yeah, and it fit a lot of specifications my client was looking for, so hence the drive. And so he sends a guy down. The guy doesn't even have a compressor with him. So he says, well, let me just at least turn on the car so you can at least hear the engine. Stone cold dead.
Oh no.
I said, you know what? Sorry, guys, I gotta go. I have an appointment. I have to. So
That's just ridiculous.
oh, it was insane.
They knew you were coming. They could have fixed it up a little
Hence the Idiot of the Year award.
They just lost
I guess
sale.
business is really good for them.
Something.
They didn't need the sale.
I don't know, but yeah. So.
But ordinarily, what type of services would you provide? Let's say if that didn't go so crazy, if it went a little bit more like the norm.
Oh yeah, I mean, ultimately, I find out from the client what it is that they're looking for, the parameters of price, and
Do most of your clients know? Because for me, I'm like, yeah, I want a small car and I want it to be silver. And that's really it.
Right.
I don't really.
yeah. I find that I have to do a little whittling down. I have to question them a little bit more,
Yeah.
and sometimes I have to take them out on test drives for different cars
Yes.
and
Okay.
give them a
Yeah.
little.
A test drive is always good.
It
Like
really
Dawn is
is.
saying, you don't know what you want until you're sitting behind it.
Right.
Sometimes what you know is what you don't want, right?
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Especially with new cars. I mean, new cars are very expensive. You have to find your budget, first of all. You got to, and then I always encourage, if you have time, before the car dies, if you know it's on its last leg, don't wait until you make that new car purchase. Look around, drive a few cars, test a few cars. The one thing that people don't realize, though, is when you're buying a new car, is watch your tire size. Because actually,
Yeah.
because when
I
you
got burned with that.
the thing you need to remember is the middle number. Is the middle and the end, but the middle number, once you have like a 205 55, 205 50, once you start going below that number 50, that middle number, a 45 or a 40, the sidewall gets much, much more narrow. Being in this capital region, you hit a good pothole, you can dent your rim, and you can also blow your tire out. So you want to be careful of that. And those they're called lower profile tires.
Very expensive.
They can be very expensive, especially after you go, the last number being like a 17, 18, 19, that last number, you have a 205, 50, 17. Once you start getting that last number also starts growing, so does the price of the tire. So that middle number, remember, it's going to be more narrow. It's going to be more of a sport tire. So being in the Northeast, you got to be aware of that, and that last number too.
And how can people become more educated on these topics? I mean, are there classes available? Like, I'm not talking about taking, a 2-year course at Hudson Valley, but if I wanted to go,
A couple of nights at Knowledge Network or something like that. I don't even know that they exist
I don't know, that's
anymore.
fine.
We used
But,
to offer,
you know,
we
some
do offer
seminars.
classes every once in a while. We call it Looking Beyond the Vanity Mirror.
I think that would be great. You should offer that again. I would
yeah,
go.
I would go too.
Okay. Yeah, we have offered in the past, just basic car maintenance, how to check your tire, how to check your oil. That's very important, knowing, how to check your oil.
Yeah, I'm clueless about that.
I can teach you that. Now, we only have about 2 minutes left, so could any last words of wisdom for our viewers to help them sort of with this whole topic?
Like maybe just how should they decide when to buy a new car and abandon an old car rather than invest more into it?
I think the first thing is when you're starting to see a lot of trouble with the car, the check engine light's coming on a lot, first of all, make the assessment, or how much do you really want to put into this car?
Right.
And the other thing too is don't put it off, because there's nothing worse than knowing you could have prevented that huge bill.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So and that's where I come in. I
Yeah,
help
sort
in
of weighing, that against the price of
A newer car. How many?
a new car. What do you call it? Payment, a car payment.
Exactly.
Yeah.
How many miles are on the car? If it's a car that's just reaching 100,000, or you've got a car that's got 150,000, that's something to also take into account. If you're the original owner, do you have highway miles on it versus city miles? City miles are a lot harder on a car than highway miles.
Well, you guys have given us so much information in such a short time. We really, really want to thank you both for being our guests.
Thank you.
And we are going to make sure your websites and contact information will be available. So those of you out there who are interested in more information, feel free to contact our guests. And just went by so fast. I really want to thank
I
you
hope
so
people
much.
feel more confident, particularly women feel more confident in maintaining their car.
Yeah. Thank you so much for watching Real Conversations with Lisa and Susan.